Alright guys, here we go. I know some of the other videos I put up you couldn't hardly see the screen because I was recording from a camera and recording the screen from a camera, and now I figured out how to do this little deal where we're recording from the computer screen itself, and we're going to go back over this and show you guys how this works on who's supposed to have a driver's license and who isn't. For here in Indiana anyway, you go under IC 92411 where it talks about the license being required. And I'll have a link to all these papers and laws for those of you that are here in Indiana so you can download them, use them, and if you're going to use them in a court case, remember that you must get them authenticated before entering them as evidence. So, we start out and it says, except as provided in Section 7 of this chapter, an individual must have a valid driver's license or permit. And it says, including any necessary endorsements. Now, this is important, folks. So, why do we have to include having an endorsement? Now, I'm going to show you why here in just a little bit. Okay. And it says any individual must have an unexpired identification card with a Class B motor-driven cycle endorsement issued to the individual by the Bureau under IC 92416, a valid driver's license or permit to operate a Class B motor-driven cycle upon a highway, right? An individual who violates this section commits a Class C infraction. And by the way, folks, you're not supposed to be arrested for an infraction or have your car towed for an infraction. So, we work our way on down through here through 913.248.3, right? Or it talks about definitions. Right? It says endorsement. Endorsement refers to an endorsement issued by the Bureau under IC 92484, right? Before its expiration, or 92485. And this is as of July 2016, right? Well, we come down here and we see IC 913-2-48.3, driving privileges. Now, this is what they tell us we got to have the license for to use our cars. That we have to be licensed because driving is a privilege, right? And it says driving privileges means the authority granted to an individual that allows the individual to operate a vehicle of the type and in the manner for which the authority was granted, right? So we go down here to IC 924-4.4.1 -4.1, sorry. It says applicability driving privileges. This section applies after December 31st of 2016. The holder of a valid chauffeur's license is entitled to the same driving privileges the holder of an operator's license with a for-hire endorsement under 924.8.5. Now, note, folks, that the above section shows driving privileges are, in fact, the endorsements that are found in 924-8.5, right? And IC 924.11, license required violations, reads, including any necessary endorsements issued to the individual by the Bureau to operate upon the highway. And these endorsements are all for hire, folks. as we see right here. Okay, and when you open up 5.1, it talks about commercial motor vehicles. All of these various endorsements, right? Operating privileges granted with a for-hire endorsement. Now, this is the operator's license that they tell us right here that we have to have, right? Which is a Class D license. And it says operating privileges granted with a for-hire endorsement, in addition to operating privileges granted to the holder of an operator's license with a for-hire endorsement entitles the holder to operate the following, right? And we just go down through here and it tells us that, hey, anything 26,000 pounds or lighter, that's operated for the purpose of transporting property for hire, right? Or people, right? Here you go. This is like your school buses designed to transport fewer than 16 passengers, including the driver. And this is why they always say, well, you got passengers in the car, because the officer is trying to continue to insinuate that you're being paid. And if you very quickly say, no, sir, I do not have passengers, I have guests. They are not paying me. Passengers pay, right? And you'll see that there's a law for this, right? But it says the holder of an operator's license with a for-hire endorsement is not entitled to operate a commercial motor vehicle, right? And this is actually not true, as you'll see from another law I'm going to show you in this video. It says employment of a for-hire operator. A person may not employ an individual to operate a motor vehicle in a manner for which a for-hire endorsement is required, unless the individual holds one of the following. And you see how this is all working? You see, there is no non-commercial license, right? No such thing. This is all about whether or not you're operating for hire, whether or not you're getting paid to transport people or property, right? And look here, operating privileges granted with the motorcycle endorsement, right? In addition to the operating privileges granted to the holder of an operator's license, the holder of an operator's license with a motorcycle endorsement is entitled to operate a motorcycle or Class A driven cycle on the highway. Now, what they're saying when they say operate in this instance is that you're allowed to take passengers for money. Right? They're not going to tell you this, right? But it says in addition to the operating privileges granted to the holder of an operator's license, the holder of an operator's license with a motorcycle endorsement with a Class A motor-driven cycle restriction is entitled to operate a Class A motor-driven cycle upon a highway. And it tells you that a motorcycle endorsement is not required to operate an autocycle, right? Which an autocycle is a motorcycle, just you're not using it for hire. It's the same damn thing, you're just not using it for hire. This is how deceitful these people are. And we'll get to a small cap of that in the end about what they've done to the police and as to why the police behave the way they behave, because they're being lied to by the lawyers who are doing all this. Okay, so now we've kind of come to the point that we realize that once one reads and realizes the endorsements are in fact driving privileges, then one realizes every endorsement is a driving privilege to operate for hire, to transport passengers or property and transportation for hire. This includes the motorcycle endorsements, right? It says further, every operator's license is required to have a for-hire endorsement. CIC 924 8.5-5 for-hire endorsement, right? And it says the Bureau shall add a for-hire endorsement to an operator's license if the holder meets the following conditions: is at least 18 years of age, has held a valid driver's license for more than 1 year, which, folks, by the way, it's not a driver's license, it's an operator's license. There really is no such thing as driver's license known to the law. And it says makes a proper application in a form and manner prescribed by the Bureau. Now, when they say make a proper application, what they're meaning is you applied to get the operator's license, the Class D license, right? And you've satisfactorily passed a written test approved by the Bureau, pay your fee of $19. Then it just tells you how the fee is to be distributed, right? Now remember, these are all current laws. Okay. He says and now we go into another one that has been let to expire, but we've been talking to our legislature about them reenacting this, right? And by the way, folks, these people in the legislature, for every person who gets shot because they don't have a driver's license, they should be held to be charged with murder, because they know this is the way it is and they're not making it clear to the police. Right? It says the very existence of the Indiana Code, formerly IC 9-1-4-15, additional fees, license, permits, and numbers prohibited exception is evidence that this is the correct analogy of the law. Right? When we go and we read this IC 9-18-2-22, right, additional fees, licenses, permits, and numbers prohibited, it says a person that owns a motor vehicle, except a person that owns a truck or motor vehicle used in transporting passengers or property for hire, and has obtained a certificate of registration under this title, is not required to pay another license fee, obtain any other license or permit to use or operate the motor vehicle on the highways, or display upon the motor vehicle any other number other than the number issued by the Bureau as added by public law, right? So now we know that our automobiles are exempt, right? Because under IC 918-1-2-2, subsection 7, vehicles not required to be registered. A vehicle that is not designed for or employed in general highway transportation of persons or property and is occasionally operated or moved over the highway. Right? Now this is 2017. And then we go to this one, right, from 2017. Down here, right? IC 24-6-1, exempted vehicles. And it says this chapter does not apply to a motor vehicle or the operator of a motor vehicle that is not a commercial motor vehicle or is otherwise accepted in 49 CFR 3-3.3, 49 CFR 390, or 391. Right? So we go to 390.3, general applicability, exceptions, subsection F. Unless otherwise specifically provided for, the rules in this subchapter do not apply to subsection 3, the occasional transportation of personal property by individuals not for compensation, nor in the furtherance of a commercial enterprise.